All right, I believe we are officially live. Let's find out. Let's find out. Um, channel. All right, we are officially live. What is up, everybody? So we've got like a decent, okay, stream time today. This is the first time we've actually streamed at a decent hour in a while. Not too early, not too late. I mean, I know time zones exist, but you know. Cade thought he was first, but it was Madison. It was Madison. What's up, Madison? Love you. Love and peace. What's up? Hi, hello, welcome. Welcome to the stream. So, guys. This is going to be a good one. All right? And I know I say that a lot. But this is seriously, this is going to be another good one. All right? This is going to be another good one. We're going to talk about how you're being bluffed, okay? We're going to talk about how you're being bluffed into giving these thoughts more importance than they deserve. PJ makes, a good point. We've talked a lot about how brain doesn't know the difference between, a danger and a real reality. But we're gonna go a little bit deeper as to why you shouldn't give them too much credit. We're gonna go a little bit deeper as to why you shouldn't give them too much credit. Because I know we talk about, yes, if you can be rational, that's great. Um, but I want to just go a little bit deeper why they shouldn't be given too much credit. Period. Right. So we say, don't give your thoughts too much credit. Leave them alone when these thoughts come. Just understand that they're not the real you. We say that a lot. We like to use that little quote a lot. They're not the real you, and it's because you're in the anxiety state. But with the two main keys, accepting our feelings and just living our life, and leaving these thoughts alone instead of giving them too much credit, I want to go a little bit deeper. Sorry, swallow your spit. I hate that. I want to go a little bit deeper as to why you shouldn't give them too much credit. So, we talk a lot here on the channel about negative thoughts and negative thinking, and I really just want to dive a little bit deeper, okay? And I've got some things written down here that I really wanted to make sure that I brought up in today's stream. Got some things written down here. Let's see. But before we do that, also guys, I did remove quite a few videos today on the channel. So keep that in mind. If you go to find a video and it's not there, I'm telling you, you don't need it anyway. It's too much clutter. Too much clutter, and we're doing some spring cleaning. So you don't need it anyway. Trust me. You got the two main keys, you're good. So if you notice a particular video or stream is gone, we're doing some spring cleaning around here. That's all it is. It was mostly just videos that were either very old and kind of irrelevant because we've already touched on these things up to date, or they were videos that just didn't have very many views, or they were videos that were just completely off topic and didn't really deserve to be on the channel. Could you tell us which? Nah, dude, there's hundreds. There's hundreds. I got rid of all kinds of irrelevant videos. I'm talking about videos that weren't even on any sort of anxiety topic. I'm talking on videos that were years old that had maybe like 100 views, but they added up to be hundreds of videos. But the ones I deleted were mostly all irrelevant videos and mostly all either very low view counts. You know what I mean? So just got rid of all of those. So yeah, it would it would be a miracle if I could tell you exactly which ones. What's up, Sanchez? How you doing, bro? What's up, Sanchez? Nah, I think that one's still on there. PJ, I think that one's still on there. I believe. I'm not really sure. I think so. We're gonna get to the point of this stream in just a second, though, guys. Just a second. I think I know which one you're. I think I know which one you're referring to, PJ. Which I agree, because we don't call it that anymore. So I agree. Could probably get rid of that one. Could probably get rid of that one. That was like an actual upload, though, wasn't it? That wasn't like a live stream, I don't think. That was like an actual legitimate upload. Um, We are giving it just a few minutes, guys, because this is actually, believe it or not, we're going to do an official stream here. This morning we've been doing a lot of hanging out and stuff, but yeah, we're actually going to do a legitimate stream here. Hey, PJ, is that video wasn't a live, wasn't it? Like that was just a regular upload? That was like an actual video, right? I'm like 90% sure. Because if it is an actual upload, I'm not seeing it, so I may have gotten rid of it. No, I found it. Yeah, we're gonna get rid of that crap. We don't call it that anymore. We don't call it that anymore. We're gonna get rid of that crap. Yeah, there we go. I'm glad you brought that up, PJ, because we have been cleaning the channel today. So, 4 steps and blah blah blah. Nah, we don't really call it all that anymore. 2 main keys, much easier. 2 main keys, much easier. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and switch on over. Yeah, I know I don't have face cam today. I know. I got a perfectly good, actually I don't have a perfectly good reason for it. I just feel like streaming from the other side of the room today. So there's no point in face cam. And I've got the comments pulled up on my iPad here. So today we're going with comfort over face cam. I apologize, but we're going with comfort over face cam. So anyway, guys, what's most important, and far more important than my face, is the 2 things that we're going to talk about today. So clear the throat a little bit. All right, now the title of this stream, guys, says why you shouldn't give too much credit to your negative thoughts. Now, we've covered this many times here on the channel, more times than I can probably sit here and count. But I want to dive a little bit deeper into it because I know when you're in that place, it's hard to see through that illusion. It's hard to kind of break out of that illusion. So, the first little pointer that I want to go over with you guys today is if it wasn't for the anxiety that comes with this thought, okay? So that's to say, if you had this thought and if it wasn't for the anxiety that came with that thought, you wouldn't care about it. Okay, so that's number 1. You are in this anxiety state, right? And this anxiety state triggers you very needlessly, very unnecessarily, even over your thoughts. Now, here's the thing. A lot of times, if you take the step back and ask yourself, and if you're honest with yourself, if I had this same thought but I didn't experience anxiety with it, would I really care about it as much? Right? Would I really care about it as much? No, you wouldn't really care about it. Let's face it. If you had the same thought that you're having now that's causing you so much anxiety, so for example, Summer in chat, if you had the same thought that's causing you so much anxiety right now, right? And or thoughts, because I know they tend to cycle. If you had those same thoughts, but they did not cause you any anxiety, I'm talking not an ounce of anxiety. They were just thoughts with no emotional charge behind them, no anxiety behind them. Would you care about them? No, of course you wouldn't. You only care about them because you're in this state, right? So that's one reason not to be bluffed by these thoughts. That's one reason not to be bluffed by these thoughts. Let me get number two. Number two. Let me get number 2 pulled up here. Okay, one second. All right, here we go. So the next key pointer that I've gotten written down here that's going to hopefully help you break out of this illusion of giving these thoughts too much credit more than they deserve is if I wasn't in the anxiety state, the thought wouldn't have came. Now, you know that once you become sensitized, your thoughts started to get very predominantly negative, right? You know that once you became sensitized and once you fell under the spell of tired nerves, your thoughts became predominantly negative. So, again, it all comes down to this anxiety state. Now, you know that for a fact, and I know that for a fact. If you wasn't in the anxiety state, these thoughts would probably not happen in this manner, right? Because this is a part of being in the anxiety state. You could say that these really they seem crucial, but they're not crucial. These really bluff thoughts, okay, only started to come to you when you fell into the sensitized state. I think everybody can agree on that because before you were sensitized, you weren't dealing with all these thoughts that you're dealing with now, correct? Right? So, that tells us one thing. That tells us one thing. If it wasn't for the current anxiety state, if it wasn't for the sensitized state, chances are your mindset would be very, very different. Chances are your mindset would be very, very different, and you would be leaning more towards the rational side, right? Hey, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is, but I'm going to get to that in just a second. I'm not even going to look at it yet. All right, so chances are if you weren't in the anxiety state, you guys, okay, your thoughts would not lean towards the negative. They would lean towards the rational. They would lean towards the positive. They would lean towards what's more than likely true instead of worst case scenarios, right? So, being in that anxiety state, and that's my second pointer that I've gotten written down here, being in that anxiety state, that sensitized state, is what's causing, okay, these thoughts to come in the nature that they're coming, right? Because again, I think we can all agree on that. If it wasn't for being in the sensitized state, you guys know the real you. You guys know the real you who was able to be calm and rational, and if these thoughts came, you could easily brush them off and you could be more realistic about them. So, you guys know the real you, right? And when you're in that anxiety state, it's very hard to see the real you. Very, very, very hard to see the real you. You guys are awesome. I'm trying to talk over the dance class. Thank you guys. I will read those in just a second. So, you guys know the real you. And you know that if you weren't in the anxiety state that you're in, your thoughts would take a totally different direction. Correct? Can everybody in chat agree on that? Can we get some agreements in the chat? So let me say that again. You guys know the real you, and you know that if you weren't in the sensitized state, your mind would probably be going in a totally different direction. Correct? Yes? Okay. So the two pointers that I've really gotten, that I wanted to focus in on today and that I really wanted to hone in today was that if it wasn't for the anxiety that this thought came with, right? That means if this thought brought zero anxiety, chances are I would not give a shit, right? I think we can all agree on that one. I think we can all agree on that one. That if this thought didn't bring any emotional charge, if it didn't bring any anxiety, I would probably be able to brush it off, correct? Okay, so I think we can all agree on that one. And I think we can also all agree on that if I wasn't in the sensitized state, right, and that's to say, if I was back to being the real me before this sensitized state happened, chances are my mind would be leaning in a totally different direction, right? So if you wasn't in the fear state, if you wasn't in the anxiety state, chances are your mind would be leaning into a totally different direction. And we can prove that simply by asking you to ask yourself, how would the old you have handled this thought? And if you're really honest with yourself, you'll see that the old you didn't think this way. Now, I'm not saying you got to hold yourself responsible for the thoughts that pop in your head. You don't. You don't have to hold yourself responsible. I want you to take that strain off yourself. Because here's the thing, guys. At the end of the day, if you were not in the anxiety state, if you were not in the sensitized state, your mind would naturally be leaning in a different direction. So those two things I think we can all agree on. If the thoughts came with no anxiety, you wouldn't care about them. All right, so you're being tricked that way. And the other way you're being tricked is if you wasn't in the anxiety state, okay? If you wasn't in the anxiety state, your mind would not lean in the direction that it's leaning. It simply wouldn't. Your mind would not lean in the direction that it's leaning. So those two things I think we can very much agree on. Those two things I think we can very much agree on. And I've got dry throat, so you might have to deal with that for a bit. But those two things I think we can pretty much everybody here can come into a complete agreement on. Right? And I'll say them one last time for good measure. If it wasn't for the anxiety that comes with the thought, I wouldn't care. So you're being tricked there. And if I wasn't in the anxiety state, right? My mind would probably go in a different direction with this thought. So I don't want you to hold yourself responsible for the thoughts that come along with being in this state. Sometimes they're very dark, sometimes they're very scary, sometimes they're very fearful. But I want you to understand one thing, and this thing is so good to understand, that these thoughts are not who you are. They are not a product of who you are. They are not a product of the real you. They are a product of the fear state that you are in. They are a product of the protection state that you are in, right? So we can agree on those two things. And with that in mind, with those two things in mind, and if you want to make a quick note of that, feel free to do so. If I didn't care about, if I didn't have anxiety with this thought, I wouldn't care about the thought. And, if it wasn't for the state that I'm in, I probably wouldn't have had this thought anyway. My mind would operate a different way. So the fact that you're in this state, your perspectives have changes. Your point of view has changed, right? So now that we know those two things, what can we do about it? What the hell can we do about it? Well, what we can do about it, and I'm going to get to the two main keys: positive accepting behaviors, just living life. But we're focused on thoughts today. So, what you can do with these thoughts when they come and when they go, okay? When they come and when they go, what you can do with these thoughts is remember to remind yourself that if I wasn't in the state that I was in, this would not matter to me. If I wasn't in the state that I was in, I wouldn't be having this thought, right? So I want you to remember that. Instead of trying to beat yourself up, instead of trying to say, oh God, I guess this is reality now, and instead of trying to say, oh God, I guess I'm going to be stuck like this forever, I want you to simply remind yourself of these two things, right? And you can pick your favorite, but my personal favorite is that, you know what, if I wasn't in the sensitized state, I wouldn't be thinking this way. These thoughts wouldn't be, my mind wouldn't be throwing me these kinds of thoughts, right? So if I wasn't in the sensitized state, my mind wouldn't be throwing me these kinds of thoughts. And the reason it helps to remind yourself of that is because you start to take that crucial tight hold off of yourself, what Dr. Claire Weeks calls that tense hold on yourself. You start to take that off of yourself and you start to realize, I don't have to get as worked up or try to figure this all out or sort this all out, right? Because it's just a product of the state that I'm in. Now, my throat is so dry from ranting on stream all morning that I'm going to have to get something to drink, unless you guys want to deal with that for the rest of the stream. We've done like 3 streams today so far. I'm talking myself to death over here. One second, guys. Let me get something to drink. All right, there we go. Much better. Sorry about that. I couldn't take that any longer. I had to do something about that. So let me see here. Comments. Yeah, well that's the thing, PJ. Sometimes it's okay to remind yourself. Sometimes it's more than okay to remind yourself, because what is the alternative to reminding yourself? The alternative to reminding yourself, okay, is obsession. So it's more than okay to remind yourself if you need to quite a bit at first, right? Right? It's more than okay if you need to do that. And that's why we always say it's okay to have reminders, because the alternative is that you're going to argue with the thoughts all day and to give them way too much credit than they deserve. Give them way too much credit than they deserve. When actually, those 2 points that we just went over is what the truth is. If I wasn't in this sensitized state, I would not be thinking in this manner. My thoughts would not be coming at me in this way, right? And, if they didn't cause anxiety, I'd be able to brush them off. So there's two ways that you're being tricked. You're trying to fight them because they're causing anxiety, right? And I get that. But understand that's not the real you. And another thing, of course, our second thing here, if you wasn't in the state that you're in, which means if you weren't in the sensitized state, you wouldn't care about these thoughts anyway, because your mind would not be throwing you these kinds of thoughts. It would not be throwing you these kinds of thoughts. So when these thoughts come up and they scare the crap out of you, right? When these thoughts come up and they scare the crap out of you, you simply need to remember that this is a product of the anxiety state. If you wasn't in the anxiety state, they A, wouldn't scare the crap out of you, and B, if you wasn't in the anxiety state, your mind would lean in a more positive, rational direction anyway. So that's really our two things that we want you to remember, because when you go at it this way, when you go at it with this understanding, when you go at it with, you know what, I don't have to give these thoughts too much credit because I'm in the anxiety state right now, right? I don't have to give these thoughts too much credit, then that kind of gives you that little bit of a release, right? 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 Whenever I've learned to use the two main keys and how we talk to ourselves, thinking negative all the time and always, yeah, not a good combination. So I must be doing something right, because not following the thoughts aren't easy, but I've been doing it and staying dedicated for the first time, and I feel so much more relaxed overall, like the more me, like the old me. That is awesome, PJ. Well, no, Summer, we're not talking about, be rational about your feelings. It's great that you're being rational. All we're simply saying is that when you experience these scary, intrusive negative thoughts, they're coming because you're in the anxiety state. So don't give them too much credit. And as far as your feelings go, you're doing great. You're being rational with your feelings. You're telling yourself, you know what, I know this is just anxiety. This is just a feeling. That's fine. You're accepting the feelings. You're not telling yourself horror stories about the feelings. That's fine. You're doing great. That's fine. You're doing great. What we're talking about is those thoughts that you can't help. They just kind of pop up, and we call those intrusive thoughts. We call those scary, intrusive thoughts. And the reason they pop up is because you are in the tired body, the tired nervous system. Everybody gets scary thoughts from time to time, but when you have tired nerves, they tend to be even more. They tend to be even more. So, what we really want you to understand is we don't want you to get too scared by those. We don't want you to give those too much credit. We don't want you to think that those thoughts need to be given more credit than they actually deserve. Because for those two reasons, if you weren't in the tired nervous system, your mind would be going in a different direction anyway. You'd be in a more positive, rational mindset anyway. So that's one reason that you're being tricked. And number two, if they didn't give you anxiety, you probably wouldn't care about them either. So, two reasons why you're being tricked there. And the main reason that I wanted to kind of bring this to you guys, kind of bring this to your guys' attention today, is so that you don't give them more credit than they deserve, right? So that you don't give them more credit than they deserve. So that's all we're saying. When you get a negative, scary, intrusive thought, we just want you to understand that it doesn't deserve that much credit, because you're simply in the anxiety state. And if you weren't in the anxiety state, they wouldn't be causing the reaction that they're causing, and they probably wouldn't have even came to begin with if you weren't in the anxiety state, right? Yeah, exactly, DT, exactly. So it's just kind of like, we don't give them as much credit as, we think they deserve. We don't give them as much credit as we think they deserve. You know, it's not the real you. These thoughts don't deserve much credit. That's simply all we mean by that. That's simply all we mean by that. Yeah, well, Dr. Claire Weeks calls it acceptance summer. So it's like you're doing great by being rational with your feelings. You're doing great by reminding yourself that, these are just feelings. You're doing great by reminding yourself that this is just anxiety instead of telling yourself horror stories. So you're doing great with that. And when the negative, scary, intrusive thoughts come, we simply want you to remember that you don't have to give them so much credit. You don't have to give them so much credit. Thoughts are like the AC or the heater coming on. When you hear it, you're aware it started. After a while, you forget it's on because your mind learned. Yeah, yeah. So basically, once you stop giving them so much credit, and that's really all we were doing today. Is we were just trying to give you guys reasons why you shouldn't give them too much credit. So, again, guys, if you weren't in the sensitized state, your mind would probably be in a different direction. Trying to think of a firm example to give you guys. Let's see. Your stuff does a 180. I've been using advice. My intrusive thoughts changed one night. I've been having hours long of heart pounding. Can you reword that just a little bit for me? Well, you don't have to force it, PJ. You just need to remind yourself that these thoughts don't deserve much credit. You don't have to force it. You don't have to force it. It's just you can simply remind yourself when these thoughts come on, hey, I don't have to give them too much credit because I am in that sensitized mind right now. I'm sober high. So I'm trying to give you guys an example here. Let's say I was sensitized, right? Let's say right at this moment I was sensitized. Okay? Let's say right at this moment I was sensitized. A good example would be my mindset would change. It would change completely if I was in the sensitized state, and it would change from, oh, I love my channel, I love what I do, I'm helping so many people, and this is the way I feel about my channel. But if I was sensitized right now, what would probably happen is, and what would happen is that change of mindset, because that's a part of being in that tired, nervous body and mind. So if sensitization came in the picture, I'd probably go from, oh, I love my channel and I love what I do and I love helping people to, oh, I don't help anyone. I don't help anyone. My advice sucks. I might as well just delete the channel. My videos aren't helping anybody. They're not doing any good. You see what I'm saying? And those thoughts would cause me to feel all sorts of ways. And if I made the mistake of giving them too much credit, then that would really suck. Then that would really suck. So it's like this. When you're in that sensitized place, you have to understand that you're getting thoughts, that are a result of being in that sensitized place. It's not the real you. So that's just, that's just kind of maybe a little example that kind of gives you an idea of what I'm trying to say here. So, I often use the word not the real you. I often use those words, and that's what we mean by that. That's what we mean when we say not the real you, because I know that I love my channel. I know that I love helping people. I know that a lot of people have been helped by my videos. But if I was in a sensitized mind state, my mind would say the opposite. And you can apply that to your life too. And understand that you're being tricked that way, by applying that to your life. Because if you're sitting there right now and your mind is telling you all these things like, oh, about this, about my life, my past, my future, my present, and it's not in line with who you know you really are, then it's safe to say that it's just that anxious mind, an overactive imagination in an anxious body, right? So that's the thing, guys, and that's why you can't give them too much credit. We're not talking about, what's true and what's false here. We're not talking about what's true and what's false. Life comes down to what your thoughts come in, and then if you give them too much credit, well, that becomes your reality now, right? So it's not about, oh, what's true and what's false. Is you just have to understand that in life, okay, and this is going to sound like I'm getting too deep on you here, but in life, it doesn't necessarily come down to what's true and what's false. In each of our lives as an individual, right, we're all going to have different trains of thoughts based on our moods. So to the person sitting alone in his room right now, who's in this certain mood, and he's giving credit to thoughts about how uh, he's got a million fans. He's the biggest rock star in the world, right? And that's what he's given credit to because he feels good. And he in his mind he's like, "Yeah, I can sing so good. This guy can't sing. This guy can't sing worth a shit, by the way." But in his mind, due to his current happy mood, that is his reality. His reality is that he can sing, he's got millions of followers, he deserves to be on American Idol, right? But this guy can't sing worth a shit. But it doesn't matter because in his reality, that's his reality. Because he's in a happy mood and his thoughts are going in a happy direction. So, if I'm in a happy mood and my thoughts are going in a happy direction, then all of a sudden, oh, I'm the best there is on YouTube, right? People learn more from me than anybody else. It doesn't matter what reality is because that's really no such thing. It all comes down to each individual's, right, current mood and the thoughts that they're giving credit to. So if you're in the anxiety state and you're in the sensitized state and you're giving too much credit to these thoughts about how, oh, everybody hates me and my life is ruined and this is going to be my life for the rest of my life, then that's your current reality, right? So it doesn't so much come down to, oh, well, I need to figure out what's true. I need to figure out the facts. I need to figure out. No, 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 no. We're each as an individual living a different reality, right? We are each as an individual living a different reality. Sorry, I had to get something to drink. And that's kind of hard to wrap your mind around at first because you're like, no wonder, bro, everything is set in stone. It's either right or it's wrong. And I understand, you've got your moral compass or whatever, but understand this. If you're currently in an anxious state, which some of you in the chat are, then you're going to have thoughts based on the state that you're in. And if you give them credit instead of saying you don't deserve credit and allowing yourself to just relax and heal, then that becomes your reality. Your reality is that now. So, Fee in the Fee Fish in the chat right now. I understand you're feeling anxious. So because you're in that anxious body, your thoughts are going to be primed in an anxious way. And now that somehow becomes your reality. But we want you to understand that's not your reality. We want you to understand that it's just the way that your mind is currently going in the direction that it's going because of the state that you're in, right? We want you to understand that reality is subjective. We're each, as an individual, living a different reality. The guy down the street who can't sing worth a shit, but he's in a good, happy mood, so his thoughts are telling him that he can sing amazing. Well, that's his reality, right? So if you're in that sensitized place, right? So your thoughts are going in a very negative direction. You're going to give them all the credit in the world, and you're going to think that's your reality, and that's just fact. But it's very subjective, right? So we want you to understand that when you're in a sensitized position, like you might be now, Fish, that your mind is automatically going to go in a very negative direction. But you don't have to give those too much credit. Just like the person who's not in a sensitized position, their mind is going in a very different direction, a very positive, rational direction. So now that's their reality. But understand, you don't have to give credit to these passing moods. You don't have to give credit to these thoughts because it's just a result of the state that you're in. If I was sensitized all of a sudden, right? And my mind would probably start saying things like, "Oh, your channel's stupid. Nobody watches your videos." I could have all the likes in the world on my videos, and I could have all the people in the world telling me all these good things about my videos. But if I'm in the sensitized place, my mind automatically is going to start saying some very stupid negative stuff, right? And the fact of the matter is, the fact of the matter is, we want you to understand that so that you don't give them too much credit. We want you to understand that when you're in the sensitized place, your mind's just looking at things from a different point of view. We want you to understand that you don't have to take this different point of view that your mind is spitting at you because you're in the sensitized place. You don't have to take that too seriously, right? Because if you weren't in a sensitized place, your mind would think of this a totally different way, whatever it is your problems that you're thinking about. But it's easier said than done to get someone to understand that because again, you are in the sensitized place. So your mind is automatically throwing negative thoughts your way about what I'm saying, about the advice, this, that, and the other. But what we really want you to understand is the more you stop giving these thoughts credit and understand that they're coming because I'm in a sensitized place, right? Not because reality this or reality that, but because I'm sensitized. And if I wasn't sensitized, these thoughts probably wouldn't be coming, right? And if they did, I wouldn't care about them. We want you to understand that more than anything. Because when you give these thoughts too much credit and you start getting involved with them and letting them scare the crap out of you, we want you to understand you don't have to let them scare the crap out of you, right? For those two reasons. Because if you weren't sensitized, they probably wouldn't come anyway. And if it wasn't for the anxiety they brought, you wouldn't give a shit anyway, right? So again, it's not about what's true and what's false and trying to figure out this and figure out that. Understand that everybody's reality is subjective to the way that they currently feel. And because you are in a sensitized place, your reality and all these thoughts are going to be aimed at very negative things, right? Your reality is going to be aimed at very negative things, but it's not about what's true and what's false. Your thoughts, okay, are dependent, okay, on what mood you're in. So don't give too much credit to these anxious thoughts when you're feeling anxious. That's what we want you to understand. That's what we want you to understand. It's not so much, and I know that's hard to wrap your conceptual mind around, right? And PJ says, so the short answer is in any case scenario is to gently place the attention back on reality without jumping in with the thoughts, and eventually they leave. You could say that, but let's make it even simpler. We want to tell you you never have to give your thoughts too much credit. That's what we want to tell you. You can live your life and you can make your best decisions and you can try your best. Obviously, you're still going to have your morals. You're still going to have your morals. You're still going to know, all these different things. We just want to tell you that if you're in a scared place right now, if you're in an anxious place right now, we want you to understand that these thoughts are the result of that temporary state. Therefore, you don't have to give the thoughts too much credit. That's why a big piece of advice, and I know we don't talk a whole lot about depression here, but I've watched, many videos in my past and stuff. And that's why a big piece of advice that people give depressed people is don't give your thoughts too much credit. This is not the real you. Life is still good. Things are, gonna look up for you. We tell things like that a lot to people who are depressed people. And that's because when they are in that mood, that depressed low mood, obviously their thoughts are kind of going in that direction, right? So we want you to understand that it's not about what's true and what's false and trying to figure out the truth behind these thoughts and this, that, or the other. We want you to understand simply if you were in a happy mood, okay, which means if your nerves weren't sensitized, then you'd probably be having very happy thoughts. If you were in let's see, what's another example? If you were in a sad mood, then your mind would probably be going in a sad direction. If you're in a fearful mood, your mind is probably going in a fearful direction. Now you can't jump in and make this stop, but what you can do to make it stop, okay, is to just accept that you are in this current state of mind and body and not give it too much credit. Don't let it scare you. You don't have to, you know, give it too much credit. You don't have to give it too much credit because, what happens is we let these thoughts scare us. We let these thoughts tell us that this is reality now. We let these thoughts tell us that this is this and this is that. And, we give them too much credit. So don't let your thoughts scare you too much, right? Because again, if you're in a happy mood, your thoughts are going to be going in a happy direction. If you're in a sad mood, your thoughts are going to be going in a sad direction. If you're in an angry mood, your thoughts are going to be going in an angry mood. Now, as a human being, you're going to have different moods. You're going to have different feelings. And as a result of those different feelings, you kind of get different thoughts, right? And some people say, well, doesn't the thought lead to a feeling or does a feeling lead to a thought? And we just want you to say it really doesn't matter either way you look at it, right? We really don't want you to bother too much with which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Because either way, if you're feeling anxious, your thoughts, your mind is going to change your reality to more fearful thoughts. If you're feeling sad, your mind is going to change your reality to more sad feeling thoughts. So forth and so on, the list goes on and on. What we just want to tell you is reality is subjective and it's all dependent on what mood you're in. So if you're in an anxious mood, if you're in a sensitized body and mind, of course you're going to have a lot of black and white thinking, right? Of course you're going to have a lot of black and white thinking. But like Dr. Claire Weeks says, just accept it as being a part of that mood. Accept it like you would your ordinary thinking instead of getting so worked up over it and giving it too much credit, right? And that's what we mean by just leave it alone. Just understand that it's a result of the state that you're in and nothing more. It is the result of the state that you're in and nothing more, right? So we've told people for, a while here on the channel. Hold on, let me get another drink. We've told people a while here on the channel it's best to leave those thoughts alone. And the reason we've done that is because these thoughts are just the result of the state that you're in. Therefore, you cannot give them full credit. You do not have to let them scare you. You do not have to think this, that, or the other about them. We just want you to understand that you're being tricked by the state that you're in, and just leave it alone and allow yourself to heal, right? That is our main point, chat. That is our main point. Now, I know it's easy to fall for that bluff, but that is our main point. All right, so I ranted and ranted and ranted, and I'm so sorry I did not call out the donations. I apologize for that, but I'm going to take a minute to do that now. 10K, thank you so much for the $50 tip, dude. That is huge. Seriously, shout out to you, man. And GTR, thank you so much for the $10 tip, man. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for those tips. Shout out to our tippers. I know I went on longer and longer and longer, but again, man, don't give too much credit to it. Don't give too much credit to it, bro. So if you know that you're extremely sensitized right now, don't give too much credit to that black and white thinking. Don't give too much credit to that black and white thinking because it's all dependent on the state that you're in. It's all dependent on the state that you're in anyway. So if you're extremely sensitized, then it's understandable that your thoughts are going to be, your mind's going to be delivering you negative thoughts, right? But it's just because of the state that you're in. So you don't have to give them too much credit. You don't have to be too scared by them. All right, ladies and gents, I've ranted until my voice is given out. So I'm going to go ahead and end this one here, guys. I love you. I appreciate you watching, and if you missed it, it will be uploaded. So thank you so much, guys, for everything that you do. I think that's what I'm doing, trying to force my anxiety to stop. Yeah, exactly. And that's what Dr. Claire Weeks meant by acceptance. We just accept that the mind is going in this negative way because we are sensitized. So the mind is automatically aimed at going in more of a negative direction. So instead of giving that too much credit, we just realized, if I wasn't anxious, my mind would not be going in this direction. So I don't really have to give that too much credit, right? And that's what we mean by just kind of leave that alone. So I love you guys, and I will see you in the next stream and or video. And as always,